Welcome to this edition of Dufferin Life. I'm your host, Teena Avery. Thank you so much for joining me today. So there was an event that happened last summer, and it was new, and it was something amazing that happened in the community, and guess what? It's coming back. Joining me today, we have Lisa LaHue she's the technical director from Theatre Orangeville. Thank you for coming on the show again.
Happy to be back.
Well, so let's talk about the Summer Arts Festival. Let's start from what happened last year and where it all came from, and then we'll see what's happening this year.
Summer Arts Festival came from wanting to kind of grow what we've been doing for years. So back in 2018, we started a relationship with the Toronto Fringe Festival, in which we were bringing shows up here, but it was only ever like a night or two, and we found great success with it. So we're like, how can we grow this a little bit more? And once we kind of opened that door, people were like, wouldn't it be great if we had musicians and visual arts and so we evolved it into like a 5-day festival last year, which was amazing. It had kids programming, it had our fringe shows, it had live music, there was visual arts. It was incredible.
It was, and there was drag bingo, and
yes.
My goodness, I went to drag bingo and it was so much fun.
It was the event not to be missed, and this year we have done our best to increase the capacity because it's sold out. There are people at the door, so we're going to try and open it up a bit more so more people can enjoy it this year.
That's amazing. So let's talk about this year. I mean, last year was a good success, and it was a good ground-breaking starting for the festival. Where is it happening this year, and when is it happening?
This year it is happening August 11th through 13th. It is hosted by Mantle Verno again, so we are in the same barn location that we were last year.
Okay.
So yeah, that's where it will be.
All right, so what can we expect this year?
This year we've condensed it a little bit into a 3-day event.
Okay.
But it's still just as jam-packed. So we are doing our Fringe series again. So we will bring 2 shows up from the Toronto Fringe. We are headed down this upcoming week to see over 50 shows in 4 days. So
let's talk about that.
Busy.
Maybe we should explain what the Toronto Fringe is if you don't know, because there's a lot of people up, especially north of the city, that don't understand what the Fringe is and why you're crazy enough to go see 50 shows.
So Fringe festivals are actually an international group of festivals. They are all indie theater, meaning that it is anyone and everyone who can produce theater. So part of the rules of a Fringe festival is that it's all by lottery. So whether you're a professional company, someone just starting up, someone who just wants to do a play, you put your name in a hat and they choose. So what you get is really a variety and it could be anything, which is the best part about going. So this year, I'm going to be seeing 24 shows.
Wow.
And it ranges from tap shows to stand-up comedy to dramas. Like, it really is a mixed bag of anything.
Okay.
And the other part of it is that 100% of the ticket proceeds go back to the artists. So that's how they get paid for their shows.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And there's a kids Fringe too, isn't there not?
There is a kids aspect.
Okay.
So they do a kids fest, which is all, again, it's by lottery, so you never know what you're going to see. It could be musicals, it could be interactive, it could be clowning.
So what are we going to put in next year? The 2 of us.
Well, we don't know because it's by lottery. It could be nothing.
It could be nothing. We might not get picked, but I think we should enter something.
Yeah. Well, I hear you tap dance, so you can tap and I can build around you. It'd be great.
Perfect. You just keep building levels. I'll keep jumping up and tapping on them.
Done.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just thought it would be fun for us to, play around with.
Put in a show.
Yeah, put on a show. Why not? Why not? You've been doing it forever. So let's talk about the 24 shows. I mean, don't tell us what they are just yet, but what types of shows are you specifically seeing?
Everything. So I do have kids shows that I will be seeing. There's a few that I'm really excited to see. Some of them are sketch comedy, which is not traditionally my type of theater, but I mean, that's the best part about going and seeing these things, is that you do engage in things that you may typically not have. But we get short blurbs, 3 sentences of this is what my show's about. And based on that, we're kind of okay, let's go and see. They are all typically under an hour. So in any given day, I'll see 5 or 6 shows.
It's craziness. So how many people are going down? Because you said you'll see well over 50 shows.
Yeah. So there's 4 of us this year. David, Naren, and I are two of them. One of them is Jordana, who just started working for us this year, but she just finished school in Montreal, so is bringing a very different and unique perspective to it as well. And our programs coordinator. So it's a really nice breadth of jurors going down to see these shows. We all
Okay.
have very different opinions on what we see, which is what we want.
Absolutely. So not everybody sees everything the same. So
No.
you would obviously,
Yeah.
you've got to talk about what you've seen and convince the other person or the other people to whether you should bring those particular shows.
Yeah, so we'll go down for 5 days, so Wednesday to Sunday, and then on Monday morning we will convene. We will talk about what we saw, and then decide. It's nerve-wracking because if you see something really good that you've enjoyed, you kind of put your faith in it, being like, I think everyone will enjoy this, but you don't know because, I mean, people take in theater differently, right? So
Absolutely.
it's really interesting. It's a very interesting process to be a part of.
Yeah, that sounds so very cool. I would just, personally, I would just be very nervous about, ooh, like what if I love that show and I laugh my head off and then everyone just stands there and goes,
Yeah.
yeah.
One of the most nerve-wracking parts of it is actually ensuring that you get to all of the shows that you've signed up for.
Right.
Because sometimes it's like, cool, I have 35 minutes to get across the city. Let's hope traffic's great.
Right.
That's the nerve-wracking
Because
part
they're
for
all
me.
over. They're all over the city.
They are. There's, I think, 11 venues throughout Toronto.
Wow.
So you just kind of dart all over the place. Yeah.
But it's an amazing relationship that you have with the Fringe. That's definitely it. And the shows you brought up last year were great. So we all have faith. We all have faith, right? That what we're going to see this year is going to be just even better.
Yeah. That's always the hope.
So we've got Drag Bingo and we've got some Fringe shows and possibly some children's Fringe shows
Yeah.
from Kids Fest. So what else can we expect this year?
Kids Fest, we will be bringing Faye and Fluffy back. Some
Yay.
people may know them from Family Junior. They have the Fabulous show. They are incredible. As an adult last year, I was like wildly engaged with the song and dance and stories that they were telling. And it was a really great turnout, so we're going to bring them back.
Wonderful.
Fluffy happens to host our music bingo as well, so it works out perfectly.
Well, we should talk about who Faye and Fluffy are because some people, you know, if you haven't looked them up, if you're not doing it right now while we're talking because you're going to be paying attention to what we're saying. But who are Faye and Fluffy?
Faye and Fluffy are a couple of drag queens who do story time.
Okay.
So that's where they kind of created their foundation. And since then, they were brought on to do the Fabulous show with Faye and Fluffy on Family Junior. But they read books that talk a lot about kind of kindness and being a good human and accepting the world that
Acceptance,
we
yeah.
live in. And they are such a joy. Like, even as an adult watching them, I'm like, oh,
And they had
there's so much
fantastic
good in this
outfits
world.
on. Like, oh my
Oh,
gosh,
yeah.
I was like, I need to get those. So
Yeah, the play suits, they're
The places-
amazing.
Yeah, I was just like, where'd you get one of those? And then I was like, I won't look like that. I'll just look horrible on that. So.
Yeah, they are really incredible humans
Yes.
to engage with. It's very fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So do we have any music coming our way?
We do. I am currently talking with an artist who isn't signed on yet, so I won't say the name, but we are very excited to have them come and join us, hopefully on the Friday night. Saturday night is Cherry Chapstick, which was
Nice.
a riot last year. So they will do some free patio music before our drag bingo. And then on the Sunday, we have another event that we've added. That's a arts brunch, and
Oh.
Stan Chang will be joining us for
I
that.
love Stan.
Yes,
Stan's been
we
on
all
my show.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're really excited for that.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So there's a brunch. So
There
this
is.
new.
It is new. So the Sunday, we kind of transformed it a bit to really celebrate and give thanks to like Mantle Verno and continue that partnership with them. So Chef Denis has created a menu for us that will do a brunch buffet,
Nice.
which will include some, chef stations and fresh foods and that kind of thing. And then we'll have Stan Chang playing some music. There'll be a visual arts component, and it's kind of built around the notion of like coming together as a community who enjoy the arts and just having a good meal and spending some time together
Amazing.
at this beautiful venue. So Yeah.
It is a beautiful venue, and if you haven't been out there, you really do have to give it a try. And if you haven't gone to the Vista restaurant, giving a plug to Mount Alverno Luxury Resorts, but yeah, their food is absolutely delicious, so I'm sure the brunch will just be fantastic.
Yeah, I'm excited. I will be buying a ticket. I know I have to work, but I will also be enjoying.
Well, I will be definitely probably coming out for the drag
Definitely,
bingo.
probably.
Yeah, definitely, probably. Probably, definitely, yeah. Either way, I'm a big fan of the drag bingo. Is so much fun. Like I just,
Yes, yeah.
And the whole crowd, it was like the energy level was like gonna take the roof off the barn. Like it was great.
Yeah, and it was quite unexpected. The patrons, a lot of them were new to what, not even the bingo aspect, but what, you know, a live drag performance. And it was such a riot that like the staff were coming up from the wedding, they were working, being like, what's happening in here? It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about the process of putting something like this on. I mean, I know you are one of the primary organizers of such an event. When do you start? Do you start planning the next one the day after this one is done? Because you have so many other things in between as such a busy person at Theatre Orangeville.
Yeah, I mean, immediately following the event, we met as the organizational team that put it up, and we're like, this was great. What does next year look at? Like, so it happens pretty quickly. Boots on the ground as far as like contacting artists and, you know, getting in touch with Fringe and that kind of stuff. It tends to happen like midwinter because we are quite focused on getting our season up and running.
Right.
But it needs to happen pretty quick because, especially with the artists, their summers become so busy, and we want to get, you know, some of the best within our local area to be able to play for us. So we start pretty early, just ensuring that we're offering, you know, exactly who we want to be there.
Right. And like for information and for tickets and that sort of thing and all the prices, we're going to send everybody to the website at www.theatreorangeville.ca. If it's not all quite up there yet because some of the contracts haven't been signed, as Lisa mentioned, then, you know, just call into the box office at 519-942-3423 to get all of those details, or at least get as much as you can so you're the first one to buy tickets.
Fingers crossed, as long as everyone signs on the line, tickets will be for sale July 4th.
Perfect.
Fingers crossed. So
amazing, amazing. So within a few days of watching, you know, if you've caught the show on Sunday or Monday, you're going to be able to get your tickets shortly after that, hopefully. So that's really amazing. So when you're putting something like this together, do you need volunteers? Do you, or
we love volunteers, of course. There's so many moving parts of it all. So much like our theater shows, we have ushers and box office and concessions and all that kind of thing. But being in a created venue and outdoor venue, there's always more people needed to ensure that it's safe and, you know, that the patrons are looked after and all that kind of thing. So if they would love to reach out to us, we're always looking for volunteers.
Wonderful. And if you have plans that weekend, the best you can do is spread the word, because that's what it's all about. Events like this take momentum to build and get bigger every year and to have more people out. And Theatre Orangeville is an amazing arts and cultural heart of the city, for lack of a better term. So Lisa, I want to thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
It was my pleasure. And don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back. And we're still on.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Every year on July 1st, we take pride in the virtues and values that we as Canadians hold dear. Canada Day is a time to celebrate what matters most to us with our neighbours, families, and friends. Today, from coast to coast to coast, Canadians celebrate another Canada Day, acknowledging the successes of their hard work and determination, as each and every one of us takes pride in our great country. Happy Canada Day. Bonne fête du Canada.
Hi everyone, I'm Lauren Stallone, the host of Healthy Living Dufferin. Here we talk about all things health and wellness in the Dufferin County. Tune in soon to learn more.
Welcome back to Dufferin Life. Thank you so much for staying with us. If you're just tuning in, thank you for joining us. I have two special guests joining me today from DCAF's Dufferin family. Oh my goodness. Anyways, Tyler and Brenda Lee, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
And I'm sorry that I just got caught up in my own tongue and didn't pronounce anything correctly. So let's talk about, Tyler, let's start with you. Just introduce yourself, what you do for DCAFs, and a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Tyler Brown. I'm the manager of Behavioral Solutions over at DCAFs.
Okay. And Brenda Lee?
My name is Brenda Lee Lefenuk, and I'm a board-certified behavior analyst for DCAFs as well over at Behaviour Solutions.
And right now you're looking at me going, her behavior's strange. Is she nervous? Has she never done this before? No. Okay, well, thank you for coming on. And I know you want to talk about a new program, Behaviour Solutions, correct?
Correct.
Tyler, tell me a little bit about what it is.
So Behaviour Solutions is kind of our new fee-for-service program that we're rolling out within the community, looking at providing ABA services and supports to various families of a variety of different needs to address kind of concerns and challenges that the families would like to improve and continue to develop going forward. So it's kind of started its foundations within the original Ontario Autism Program and has built out from there. And as we're moving now more into a fee-for-service model, it's just kind of the new programs that we're putting out.
Okay, wonderful. Brenda Lee, tell me, so with your position and what you do, so you're working directly with families and children, is that how that works?
So as a BCBA, a behavior analyst, what we typically do is we design and implement the programs.
Okay.
And we oversee the implementation of the program.
Okay.
We have ABA therapists, so applied behavior analysis therapists, that would work one-to-one with the clients to implement it. But as a behavior analyst, we can also provide consultation services through parent coaching or consulting with schools or the community partners as well. So it's a bit of a both.
Okay.
So we do work with clients in terms of providing that coaching and training, but typically in terms of implementing the programs, we have our ABA therapists that would implement them.
Okay. Wonderful. So let's talk about, Tyler, what is an OAP?
So OAP is the Ontario Autism Program.
Okay.
It was started back, it kind of came into fruition around 2017, and it was a transition away from the original ABA program. So it was developed out of the provincial program that was implementing supports for families, and it was a way of kind of doing a little bit more of a wraparound program for supports. Within recent years, the movement has gone away from the government providing the funding directly to service agencies to moving the money so that families now are managing their own funds, so they're able to select their own service provider.
Okay. Okay. So when we're talking about this particular program, is it strictly for autism, or are you working with other groups as well?
So originally, the program started out working specifically with those that have been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. However, we're recognizing that there's a lot of needs within the community, and ABA is one of those things, and behavioral supports for that matter are one of those things that can benefit everybody. And so if there are challenging behaviors, there's a variety of different things that are going on for families. We can provide supports for that. So it's about how do we build up capacity, how do we build up support, and how do we really strengthen people's skills so that they feel like they're able to continue to grow and develop. There's a lot of supports that we're just trying to help people get to the next stage that they would like to be at.
Okay, so let's talk about, Brenda Lee, let's talk about some of these supports and what, being a little bit more specific on what types of supports that you're able to provide.
So typically when we have an individual that comes in for services, there's some goals that they want to work on. Sometimes we would do, we would always do an intake with the individual. So we would meet with the family, meet with the client, get to know them, so there'd be some observations. We may do some assessments to understand where their skills are at. And then we would have some goals. So typically parent goals or family goals. And then if the individual is old enough too, they may have goals of their own that they want to work on as well.
Okay.
So we would get a better understanding in terms of where they're at with those skills, and then we would implement programs to help build those skills, to help them achieve those goals. Typically, it's a bigger goal that we might have to break down into smaller steps to reach that end goal, but that's something that we would do to help get them to that end goal there.
Okay, and how does somebody what's the process of becoming involved and being assessed and having this whole process start?
So for people that would like to be able to get involved with us, they would, the first place to go is to our website. So we do have a behavioral solutions website that is associated with the DCAF's website. So it's the place where we have all of our information. It gives updates, it gives the programs that we're doing, and identifies, how to register. And you would go to that website, click on to connect, and it would connect you with services from there.
Wonderful, and that website is on the screen right now while we're talking, which is wonderful. So let's talk a little bit about how important these services are to the community.
We really feel that these are things that we're trying to address the concerns and needs of the community, trying to find different ways that we can provide supports that there are gaps in services. So we're looking at being able to, provide new group opportunities, which is one of the things that we put out was a Lego group, because there's a lot of people that are interested in, playing with Lego, and we figured this was a great opportunity to be able to combine something that people have interest with, with the opportunities to be able to develop social relations or social skills and continue to grow those. We've also developed a Minecraft group, so the idea there is to utilize, again, another preferred interest that people might have to be able to make those connections and build up, the skill capacity, or just even to make a connection and make a friend, just with shared common interests. So we look to kind of find those places where there's gaps within the area, figure out, how can we place something in there to be able to develop and grow an individual, and try to collaborate with the families to be able to keep building, keep moving forward. So.
Okay. So Brenda Lee, can you explain the difference between the community-based groups and then the skill-based groups, and how that works, and how do you we could probably talk about this for hours, because it's just, getting that information, sharing the awareness. But can you give us an idea between some of the things that you would do in these different types of groups?
Yeah, so when we're talking about community, we're talking about, sometimes being able to be in a group. So think about schools, thinking about daycares, even thinking about in the future, potential jobs. And then when we're looking at the skills based, it can be any skills, right? So when we think about behavior, it's not typically when you think behavior, you think negatively, right? You think about the behaviors such as, aggression, destroying things, breaking things, but behavior is anything that we can see or do. Okay. So when you think about it that way, that's really anything, any skill. So with the skills-based treatment, we're looking at where are some of those strengths, where are those areas that needs to grow, and building on those. And so then what we would do is we would incorporate those skill-based skills into these community programs to help integrate them into, whatever setting that they are going into, right, or are struggling with.
Okay, so in general, is most of it done as in groups, or is there individual work that's done as well? So
we'd like to make sure that when we're meeting with families, because one of the first processes once you've gotten registered is to complete that intake. So finding out what the family goals are.
Okay.
So identifying, is it like working on life skills? Is it working on social skills? Is it, building capacity in any number of different ways? And recognizing what that is, we then kind of start to put together a plan to be able to see where the best place is to address that based on what the needs are of the family. So for a family or for an individual, if it's most suited to be able to run in a group, then we would encourage it to be a group. If it's more suited to be run individually, then we would run it individually. We try to utilize the more natural settings or the natural environments that they would be participating in those activities to be able to ensure success and generalization of the behavior into multiple settings. But sometimes that's not possible. So we try to work together with the families to figure out what's going to make the most sense, and just continue to adjust. And if it's not something that they want, we try to follow what their lead is. So if they don't want to go down a specific path, so they don't want to participate in a group, well, that's fine. Like that, we will look for another way to be able to see how we can support that, because really the most important part about this is that the family feels that the direction that they're going forward with is positive, and the individual is a part of that process. So wanting to make sure that, if we're working on a goal with Jimmy, that this is a goal that Jimmy wants to work on. B, that this is something that is that he's going to be able to participate in, and that he will have an interest in, and that he understands why he's there. So we always try to do that holistic approach of making sure that we're engaging on multiple different levels with all the key players within the situation.
To be a part of the program, does an individual have to be diagnosed with something, or if how would people approach it if they're just like, you know what, my son, my daughter, my friend, whatever, seems a little out of place, or just doesn't seem to be able to cope with something like that? Like, do they have to be diagnosed, or should they come forward and maybe reach out to see if maybe they can find out more information?
So there isn't a requirement of having a diagnosis of ASD to participate in our program. It's one of those things where if it's something that you feel would be beneficial, we would definitely want to have a conversation with you, because behavior is behavior. It's the same whether it's you, whether it's me. We all do different things, and we all have those motivations for doing them. So ABA as a function just basically addresses those motivations and helps to increase or decrease behavior depending on what you're looking to be able to do. So it's more about how do we work together to be able to get to those achieved goals.
Right, and there can be behavior without a diagnosis.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So I mean, like if somebody's just, maybe this is hitting somebody and saying, you know what, maybe there's something there for somebody I know. We encourage you to definitely reach out and find out more information, which is why we bring you on the show, so that we can spread and make awareness and spread the awareness, so that if it can help people who didn't know that you offered these services.
Yeah, for sure.
Wonderful. Well, I want to thank you both so much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thanks for having us.
It was truly my pleasure, and thank you for joining us. Until next time, bye-bye for now.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
For 25 years, you've been helping to make our roads safer by doing the right thing. You've been the designated driver, you've stayed over,